I'd like to welcome everyone to the fourth and final candidate forum. This is sponsored by the Fayette Tea Party, and I'd like to thank Warren Community Church for hosting this event and Pastor Ken for being our moderator. And at this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Ken to come up and lead us in a prayer and pledge, and then I'm going to go over the agenda and some of the rules.
All right, if you would stand with me as we pray and then remain standing, we'll pledge allegiance to our great flag. Shall we pray? Lord, we're so grateful to be able to assemble here tonight without fear of our government coming in and making us disperse. We live in this great free country, and just reminded of this past week, there are D-Day and those who fought to have what we enjoy here today. We're grateful for the lives that were lived and the lives that were given so that we could enjoy this as we do in this great country, of the ability to be able to go into the voter's booth and vote as our conscience and as our Lord directs us. We pray that you'll bless our time together tonight, and all the candidates who are here, pray that you'll just give them a calmness. I know they'll be nervous. I pray that you'll give them a calmness as they introduce themselves and answer the questions, and help us to be mindful and kind as we ask the questions, and to be able to be sure that we are an informed electorate. So we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We love you, Lord, and thank you for all that you have done for us. We pray in Christ's name. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first of all, I'd like to go over just a little bit of the agenda. We have 4 sections tonight. Each section is broken out into 30 minutes. And at the beginning of each section, each candidate will be allowed to come up and speak for 3 minutes, just as an introduction. And once those are complete, we'll open it up to questions for the candidates. And we have, I think, 1 or 2 people with microphones who will go around and have that available. When the candidates will have 1 minute to answer the question, and we will go from candidate to candidate to allow equal time for them. And Dennis is our timekeeper this evening, right down the front row. So when he gets to 30 seconds to the end of your time, he will hold up a little 30-second note just to give you a little bit of warning. And also during this, if one candidate were to attack or challenge another candidate, that candidate will be allowed to come back and answer that. I believe that's about all that we have as far as the rules go. The order tonight, first is district attorney, next is public defender, then general sessions judge, and register of deeds. I do want to point out, and Pastor Ken will reiterate this at the time as well, but for the general sessions judge, can't ask questions like, how would you rule in this case? And I don't know all of the particulars of what you can and can't ask, or what they can't answer, that you can ask whatever you want. But we're going to allow them, just know that they may say, I cannot answer that. And that's just the way it is. Also, I wanted to point out, we had a note from Sissy Dowdle that she would not be able to attend because of a special call meeting of the Fayette County Commissioners regarding an issue in her district. And we also had Heather Doyle called and was not able to attend due to a work conflict. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Ken. Thank you.
All right, if we would have our district attorney candidates make their way up into their seats here, where their names are there. And while they're on their way, on July the 6th, which is the Sunday after the 4th of July, we are going to have here at Warren Church an organization called Wall Builders. If you're familiar with David Barton, Wall Builders, we've had them here for several years. Renee Diaz will be our speaker. He's a retired colonel. and he will come be speaking on the issues of the founding of our nation and the great Christian principles on which we were founded. We will that day as well, for any candidate who wants to come to that service, we will recognize you, announce what office you are seeking, and we will give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. And that'll be pretty much it that day, but at least you'll see we have about 350 people that show up here on Sunday, so it might be a great opportunity for you to see some of the folks here. All right, well, we'll welcome our two candidates tonight. For our district attorney, we'd like to remind you of a couple of things. If you have cell phones, please silence them, turn them off. Unless you are an emergency worker and you need them, please put on vibrate something. If for any reason we have a storm issue tonight, we have some folks who are watching the weather for us, and if there is a need to go to a safe location, our restrooms, we believe, will be the most secure place for you. So it's just right out those doors to the left and right there on your right. Also, into our office, we have a restroom in there that's inside. So if there is an issue tonight, we will let you be aware of that as best as we can. As well, when we ask questions, we've had the other 3 times have been great. We've had a couple of times where questions then would be wanting to be started back and forth in the group of folks that are here. All of your questions need to be directed to our candidates, and in a way in which you can set your question up if you want. You have 1 minute to ask that question. Set it up if you want, but don't make any political statements, whether you're running for office or this or that as you're doing that. Just ask your question, direct it to the candidate, and they will answer it for you. All right. Well, you guys will have 3 minutes each to introduce yourselves. Dennis here will hold that 30-second timer up there to let you know when you have 30 seconds left, so you'll know to be shutting down. And Mike, let's start with you.
Well, thank you, Pastor, and thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Mike Donovan. I'm the District Attorney General for the 25th Judicial District, which means I'm the Chief Criminal Prosecutor for Fayette County, as well as Lauderdale, Tipton, Hardeman, and McNairy counties that make up that district. I've been practicing law 19 years here in West Tennessee, and I have been your prosecutor since 2006 for the last 8 years. I'm married to my wife, Mary Ann, who is a field representative for U.S. Congressman Stephen Fincher, and we have an 11-year-old son, Hutch. We've put some information out on the table, like everyone else, about my record and some other things like that. I do want to talk to you tonight and introduce myself by way of telling you a little bit about what we've done over the last 8 years and why I'm seeking re-election and your support. We believe that we have vastly improved the relationship with law enforcement, not only here in Fayette County, but across those 5 counties. And as a result of that, we have been able to more aggressively target those violent and sexual and gun offenses that plague our communities and endanger public safety. Some of the things that we have been involved in since I've been district attorney has been the reorganization of a drug task force that serves Fayette County as well as the other 4 counties. And we work with the Sheriff's Department here in Fayette County, the Oakland Police Department. They're both members of the drug task force. And within that, we have agents assigned to work with the DEA to target illegal narcotics here in West Tennessee, coming out of Mexico, Texas, Arkansas, into Memphis and West Tennessee, as well as an interdiction unit that Sheriff Riles helps to coordinate on I-40. And as a result of that, we have seen really a successful prosecution model of making sure that we are holding offenders accountable for selling and trafficking illegal controlled substances in our communities. We've been able to make sure that we enhance punishments where appropriate, where people are selling or possessing narcotics with the intent to sell within 1,000 feet of a school, park, daycare, or library. And I'm also proud of, in addition to the enforcement effort of that, that we have engaged in the first ever in this district pilot drug court program right here in Fayette County. We've partnered with Judge McCraw, and we have addressed the needs of offenders who are truly addicted in those areas. We've also obviously targeted DUI enforcement that serves here in Fayette County. We've increased our conviction rate that we believe lessens traffic fatalities, and we have dramatically increased the child abuse conviction rate that keeps children safe. It's certainly my high honor to serve you as your district attorney, and I hope that you will continue to serve me, support me as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here in Fayette County. I want to thank the pastor for allowing me to come and speak tonight. I want to thank Warren Community Church and thank all of you for being here to become informed citizens. But most importantly, I want to thank God, and I want to thank Him for letting all of us get here tonight safely as we traveled through the storms. My name is DJ Norton, and I'm running to be your next District Attorney General. I want to tell you a little bit about my background and what I plan to do as your District Attorney General. I was raised in McNairy County, Tennessee, in a very small town called Shawali. And I was raised by a single mother with help from my grandmother. My mother often worked third shift at Kimberly-Clark in Corinth, Mississippi, so my grandmother played a large part in my raising. My grandmother told me when I was a young man, she said, DJ, you're not entitled to anything in this life. She said, DJ, you've got to work for everything that you do. And I took her advice. She told me when I was a young child, she said, when you come up in this world, I want you to work hard, always use your common sense, and to never forget from where you came. That's what I did. I went to public school in McNairy County. I played football. Then I went on to the University of Tennessee at Martin. I received an academic scholarship, and when I got there, I remembered what my grandmother had told me, those core values that she put into me. And when I finished UT Martin, I graduated #1 in my class. I then went on an academic scholarship to the University of Memphis and attended law school. And I still remembered the values that my grandmother taught me when I was a little boy, when I was in law school. And when I finished law school, I was in the top 5% of my class. When I got out of law school, I was working for a law firm in Memphis, but something in my heart told me, my grandmother had passed away. She passed away when I was in high school. Something in my heart told me that I did not belong in Memphis. I belonged back in the 25th Judicial District. So I moved back to McNairy County and opened a law office in Selmer, Tennessee and Ripley, Tennessee. And since I've been practicing law, I've handled almost all types of cases. And I know I'm short on time, but I want to tell you, as your District Attorney General, I will use those same values that my grandmother taught me to represent you. We must stop repeat criminal offenders. Quite frankly, I'm tired of seeing the same people walk the street that continue to commit crimes. I thank you for being here. Look forward to your questions. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike and DJ. I'd like to call you by your first names. Okay, good. We'll now open the forum for questions. We will start with a question to Mike, then the next question will go to DJ. So does anyone have any question tonight for our candidates for District Attorney? One here. And Mike, if you'll come to the microphone.
This question, I'm sorry, is for DJ.
No, Mike is our first one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll wait. I'll wait. Hi, Mike. Thank you for being here. I'd like to know what one specific issue would you like to address in your next term if you're elected, and how would you personally go about making the issue resolved?
I think that the new and emerging problem that we're seeing now in the area of criminal activity is really related to addiction problems. We have seen addiction move from street drugs like crack cocaine and methamphetamine now to the opiates. And what we know now is that much criminal activity is motivated by the desire to obtain prescription medication and controlled substances such as hydrocodone, OxyContin, morphine, and that's creating an opiate dependency that is driving, unfortunately, young people into addiction and to seek out harder drugs like heroin. And so I think that what we will need to do, obviously, is we need to address that both from an enforcement issue, that is, how do we enforce and regulate over-prescribing of medications, doctor shopping, TennCare fraud, prescription pill diversion, that is, how are young people getting it into their hands. And then I think we need to address it by, again, as I said, drug court models that treat the addiction and maybe save taxpayer dollars from just wholesale incarceration of people who have drug problems. So I think that is really the emerging trend and problem that we're seeing that's exploding, and it's really creating a public safety nightmare, if you will, because we're seeing more and more an increased opiate overdose deaths by young people who really don't know and can't really understand what they're taking, and it's killing them. And so we really need to address it from enforcement and rehabilitation and treatment as well as education. So I hope to work on that in my second term.
All right. Question now for DJ. Ladies, question.
Yes. Can you tell us how many years experience you've had as an attorney?
I started practicing law in 2009. As I said, I started at a law firm in Memphis. I very quickly moved to McNairy County and opened a law office there and also a law office in Ripley, Tennessee. Since then, I've handled thousands of cases, all the way from violent criminal offenses to misdemeanors, and I practice law in various areas. I have numerous trials under my belt and consider myself to be a courtroom trial lawyer. Thank you.
All right. Is there a question now for Mike? Yes, here.
Mr. Donovan, how is the drug prosecution rate in Fayette County since you have been in office?
Well, we don't particularly keep statistics regarding the rate of arrest or prosecutions or convictions as that goes. I will tell you, we believe that we have increased, well, we know that we have increased our indictment numbers over the last 8 years. And as I said earlier, I think that we've seen that change really from when I first started prosecuting in 2006. The primary street drug that we were dealing with that was in high demand was crack cocaine. And that was really driving the drug market. Now we see people turning really kind of away from that. We've had our methamphetamine manufacturing problem as well, but now it is the prescription opiates. And that has really created the need for that drug court program that I talked about. Judge McCraw, Public Defender's Office, my office, as well as probation have gotten together, and we have the first felony drug court program here in Fayette County as a pilot program for the district. And it's making some progress. Of course, people do reoffend because they're addicts. But we believe that we have increased, we know we've increased our prosecution rate and our conviction rate because the volume of cases has increased, whether it's as a function of population shift, that is people moving out from Shelby County, or the dealers themselves coming out into Fayette County to market and sell their drugs. And so we're capturing those as well. So it's increased.
All right, question for DJ. Right here. Over to my right. There we go.
Well, DJ, you mentioned a while ago that you wanted to stop repeat offenders. I'm for that. How do you do that?
Well, what we see now is, in my opinion, the same people that are in our court system month after month, year after year, that are continuing to commit crime. And Mike mentioned a good point. People do have addictions. And we should try to rehabilitate people with addictions. Because if we don't, they cannot come back into our society and be productive members of our society. But at the end of the day, if a defendant continues to violate the law time and time again and use our judicial resources, use our taxpayers' money, then at some point we have to prosecute that person to the fullest extent of the law. There's only so many chances that we can give people. I'm all for rehabilitation, but a person has to take the opportunity and has to want to be rehabilitated before that can happen. So to answer your question directly, for repeat offenders, we should prosecute those people to the fullest extent of all, not make plea agreements that allow these people to come back onto our streets only after 30 or 60 days in jail. Thank you for your question.
All right, is there a question for Mike? Another one here.
I guess this would be addressed to both of you. Could you name one strength and one weakness within your character?
One strength and one weakness within my character. I will tell you, as my character goes with my job, my strength is that I'm passionate. I get up every day and I think about public safety. And I think about making sure that we are aggressive and yet fair in our prosecution of criminal offenses in such a way that we incapacitate the criminal offender, we rehabilitate where it's appropriate, we deter and educate young people from future criminal activity, and we deliver personal justice to those victims of crime who've been injured or abused, killed, raped, whatever. So I am passionate. My weakness is worry. I worry about the public safety of our citizens. There are 181,000 people in the 25th District that I represent. And I am concerned about children in our schools. Our worst nightmare is a school shooting incident. And we've planned and prepared and trained and tried to work with law enforcement to address those safety concerns. I worry about domestic violence being on the rise. That character flaw is that I worry quite a bit. I do. And sometimes that can consume me, but yet it motivates me as well. And so I would tell you, passion and worry for issues of public safety. That's what answers your question. Thank you.
All right. DJ? Question for DJ?
Same question. Same question.
Yeah, I think you were supposed to answer that part.
Sure, you can answer that question.
Be glad to answer that question. I would say the strength, my character trait that would be my strength is that I'm a hard worker and I'm determined. Ever since I was a young child, I've worked hard. I never had anything handed to me. My family had not been to college, and I had to work hard for what I achieved. So as district attorney, my strength would be that I would be determined to make sure that our district is a safe and moral place, that we can raise our children, we can make a living, and build our small businesses. Now, on the same aspect, my weakness is that I don't like to delegate. I think that comes from being such a hard worker in my life. I'm very hands-on, and as District Attorney General, I will have several Assistant District Attorney Generals and staff to help me fulfill my mission to make our community safe. So my weakness is I want to be right there with them. I don't want to be in some office. I don't want to be in Nashville. I want to be right there with my assistant district attorneys. I want to try cases with them. But I could see that being a weakness in my character, because I will have to delegate some, because there's only so much one person can do in a 5-county district. But I thank you for your question.
All right, a question now for Mike.
I have DJ.
Okay.
Mike, could you please elaborate on some of the details that are involved in your drug rehabilitation project program in Fayette County?
Yes. This drug court program really began as a result of grant funding application to the state of Tennessee. We have a drug court director that works directly with Judge McCraw, our circuit court judge here, our district public defender Gary Antrican, and my office. All three of us had to agree to participate in the program. Through that grant funding, we're able to receive some resources to employ the drug court director as well as some other staff, and also to work with probation services. And every week, we screen new drug cases, that is typically drug possession cases that are felony offenses. We screen those as a group, as a team, the drug court team, to really act as a gatekeeper, if you will, to determine which cases we believe are truly motivated, where the criminal activity is motivated by a history of addiction that can be treated, and which ones may not be suitable for the program because they may have had other violent felonies. It's for nonviolent offenders, other violent felonies associated with that drug crime, or they have a history of actually selling drugs. Understand that drug court programs are not for people who sell drugs. They typically don't take their own product. They're not the addicts. They're the businessmen. They're the ones doing it motivated by money. And so we screen those cases. We work with them through the process. We engage in pretty intensive supervision, drug testing, rehabilitation, and other resources to get them out of custody and being a productive member of society while still being supervised under the court's supervision. And then hopefully they can successfully complete a program of probation and not reoffend. For those that are not selected for the program, they're prosecuted aggressively and just like any other offender for those felonies.
All right. Question for DJ.
Thank you.
I think most of us would agree that we would like all the criminals locked up and not keep coming out. And as a layperson, we hear that over and over and over. And it seems like I lack of knowledge, but that the law and then judges many times, we hear, at least I hear, judges turn things over and don't do what the prosecutor, be it, district attorney or whatever, actually asks for. So what part does the law and the judges play, and how would you address that?
Currently in the state of Tennessee, we have sentencing guidelines. We have classes of felonies. Crimes are graded into classes, A being the most serious, B, C, D, and E. Depending on how many crimes that you've committed in the past, person has committed, determines where that person will fall on the sentencing guideline chart. But what I would do as a district attorney general is that when we have repeat criminal offenders that continue to come through the system, I would not make plea offers that only allow these people to stay in jail 30 days, 60 days, or even 120 days. If I do that, if I don't make that plea agreement and we go to trial, or I offer a plea agreement that offers more jail time, then I've done my part as a district attorney general to prevent repeat criminal activity. But it all starts with rehabilitation. If we can rehabilitate an offender before they continue to commit crimes, then we can stop that person from being back in the criminal justice system. But you are right. We can't lock everybody away forever. But if you're coming through the system 3 and 4 times, we have to do something. Thank you.
All right. And for sake of time, unless there is a pressing question from anyone, all right, 2 more questions. We have time for 2 more questions. Mike?
This to me?
Yes, Jim, Mike.
How do you answer DJ's
Question. How do you answer DJ's question of repeat offenders and why they're not locked up longer?
Well, the previous question actually answers the question. I will tell you as well, we attempt to be as aggressive as we can. There are some laws that require mandatory minimum sentences. So for instance, DUI, repeat DUI, there's a certain amount of days that are required to be served in jail. If it's your first, second, third, fifth, eighth offense. Same thing for domestic assault. I would tell you that typically and presently, the state law, state criminal code, and sentencing guidelines are weak. And I would strongly suggest to you that you ask your state representative and state senate candidates about what they might do to make sure that when we say that the penalty for a Class C felony is 3 to 6 years, it really means that someone's going to serve 3 to 6 years and not 3 years at 30% with an eligibility for probation and diversion. People don't get probation because I'm offering it to them. They get it because they come in and plead guilty and the judge gives it to them because the law allows it. And in fact, the law presumes it in many cases for a first or second offender. And so it's not a lack of effort or aggression by the prosecution. It's a function of the weakness of the law. Now, certainly judges have discretion to sentence within those guidelines, and some are more lenient than others. But really, I would tell you that one of the roles and functions as district attorney that I've been involved with has been going to Nashville and talking to my state legislators about strengthening laws, especially for violent, sexual, and gun offenses. And in certain circumstances, we have partnered with the U.S. Attorney's Office to take some of these cases, gun and narcotics cases, down to the federal court where they don't have parole in that system. And if you do the crime, you do all the time. So really, I think that there's a multifaceted answer to this question, and we certainly are giving it all we've got within the law. Thank you.
Right. And a question for DJ.
Hi, DJ.
Hello.
Just like to know, Mr. Donovan, and if you can bear with me, if both of them can answer the question, it'd be great. Because it's been in the news so much in the recent escalation, it seems every day, about school shootings, and Mr. Donovan mentioned, there's a growing fear and concern about school shootings. I'd like to know what your opinion is on gun laws. Do you believe we need stricter gun laws? And if so, specifically, can you say what that would be?
I'm pro-gun. I believe that we have sufficient laws in place to protect mentally ill people from getting guns, but I don't think those laws are being enforced as much as they could be. But I'm pro-gun. I don't think that restricting law-abiding citizens from owning a gun will do anything to prevent school shootings. I've watched the news for the past decade, and it seems that in our country we continue to have mass shootings. I think we had one this week. But I think the majority of those cases stem back to mental illness. I don't think as a society we do enough to recognize and treat mental illness. But the answer is not to say, let's do away with the Second Amendment. We have to keep the Second Amendment, but we have to also keep mentally ill people from receiving guns. And when we see people in our community that do commit crimes that are not supposed to have a gun, we've got to prosecute those people to the fullest extent of the law. Thank you for your question.
DJ, Mike, would you address that question as well?
Yes, I also believe that the answer is not restriction on gun rights. I also believe very strongly in the Second Amendment, which I support and took an oath to support. Certainly, bad people do bad things with guns every day, right here in this district and across our country, and including school shootings. I agree that it is a mental health issue that with regard to access to weapons by those persons who've been identified and diagnosed as being dangerous. What I'll also tell you, however, is that we know that lawful gun ownership and possession, when done properly, can deter and prevent mass shootings can deter and prevent those bad people with a bad gun. The only thing to stop a bad man with a bad gun is a good man with a good gun, right? Amen. And so we want to promote lawful gun ownership. We want to discourage unlawful gun ownership. Here in Tennessee, if you are convicted of a felony, you lose the right to own or possess a firearm. And if you're caught in ownership or possession of a firearm after that, whether you stole it, bought it, obtained it, and you're riding around with it with your drugs, we have aggressively prosecuted those. In fact, that's some of the ones I was telling you about. We refer to the U.S. Attorney's Office for federal prosecution because I want to give them every bit of the time that we can. We've increased the penalties in Tennessee under the state law for felons in possession with prior violent felonies and drug felonies as well. And so I think that we also need to educate our young people that the solution to every problem is not violence. And so I think that we can also be a part of that at the District Attorney's Office. Thank you.
All right, and great questions. We want to have balanced time. So DJ, one final question for DJ, then we're going to give our candidates a 2-minute time to be able to close up their closing remarks, and then we'll move to our next session. We're running a little behind. Any question for DJ?
I got one.
In your 5 years of being an attorney, I think probably 4 of those years you've had your own law practice. Is that correct?
Yes.
You know, why do you want to give up, or just why do you want to leave that?
Because I appreciate your question. If I were to stay in private practice, I'll make more money and I can choose the cases that I take. But just like when I was a little boy and when I was in college and when I went to work at a law firm in Memphis, I decided that when I have a calling in my heart, when I think I can do a better job, when I can help our society improve and make a difference in our community, that's what I'm going to do. It's not about money to me. I've never had money in my entire life. Got a little bit now after practicing law, but I feel a calling to be District Attorney General. I wouldn't put myself out here in the public, on a public forum, if I didn't believe strongly about bringing those values that I have to the District Attorney General's office. So to answer your question, it's in my heart to do this. And I appreciate your question. Thank you all for the opportunity.
DJ, just stay right there while you're there and give a wrap-up, a closing statement that you'd like to make.
I want to say again, thank you to everybody for being here. It's discouraging sometimes as I've been on the campaign trail because it's not always easy to reach concerned citizens. We have political forums. Oftentimes people don't even show up. So it's good to be here at Warren Community Church and to see so many people that are concerned about what goes on in our country and in our district. So I want to thank you for that. It's an honor to run. It's an honor to be on this stage. And I promise you, the only thing I promise you is if you elect me as your District Attorney General, you're going to see me work hard. You're going to see me use common sense with every decision I make. And you're going to see me have a hands-on approach. I'll be there with my Assistant District Attorney Generals. I will work hard to stop repeat criminal activity. And I'll work hard to rehabilitate people that want to be rehabilitated. But I can't do it alone. When I got in this election, they said, DJ, can you win? I said, no, I can't win, but we can win. So when I take office with your help, that's the only way that we make our district better. Not just me, but from you. I need to be in our communities listening to what our citizens want. Because if I don't know what you want, I can't effectively do my job. I do know one thing. We've got to protect our children, protect our property that we all work hard for, and we've got to stop these big drug dealers and get them off our streets from infecting our population with addiction. That's what I promise you. I'll work hard every day to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, DJ. Mike, if you'll come up and make your closing statement.
Well, I want to thank you, Pastor. I want to thank the Fayette Tea Party for hosting this event. Thank you all for coming out and asking very good questions. It is my high honor and privilege to serve you as your district attorney for the last 8 years. I want to keep going, keep doing it again for the next 8 years. I encourage you to go look at my materials. It's not hard to figure out what my record is over the last 8 years of service. We have done a lot of things in the area of public safety and prosecution. As I said, we've created a DUI prosecution unit that has increased conviction rates for vehicular assault, vehicular homicide, and DUI, that has reduced traffic fatalities. We have increased dramatically, twofold, child abuse prosecution rates and conviction rates across the district for children who are physically, sexually, environmentally neglected and abused. We have targeted those people who have illegally used weapons and sold drugs to our children. I also run a child support enforcement division. We didn't have a whole lot of time to talk about that tonight. That last year collected over $23 million for the children of the 25th District. I operate and manage a staff of 51 total employees in 8 office locations in 5 counties, including 13 assistant district attorneys who go to work every day to prosecute with fairness and vigor the violations of the state code. And I promise you that we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to preserve the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee, the peace and dignity of the people of Fayette County, by moving forward to meet the new ways that people victimize each other and commit crime with new and innovative and aggressive prosecution that holds them accountable for criminal behavior and achieves justice. Thank you very much for listening to me tonight and for your support. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Very good questions tonight. Great first session. We want to move now to our second session, our public defenders. So those who are candidates that be making your way up, Brother Dennis is going to come up and change the names here so that you will be able to sit in the seat designated for you. All right, again, candidates, as we did before, you'll have 3 minutes to make some introductory remarks, introduce yourself to the forum here, and we'll start with you, Billy, and then move right down the line.
Good evening. My name is not going to be Billy on the ballot. My name's Bo. Billy's my father. He would like your vote too, but he's not running for anything. I'm running for public defender. I'd like your vote in the August 7th election. I'm born and raised in the 25th District. I currently live in Covington with my wife, Kathleen. We have lived there for, I think, 4 years now, or at least I have. We've been married 3. And in the last 7 years, I've worked for the District Attorney's Office. I've handled more criminal cases in those 7 years than any other attorney in the 25th District. I've handled cases from the theft of a tip jar at a donut shop all the way to a double homicide with a young man that beat 2 elderly people to death in Munford, Tennessee, which is my hometown. And in that time, I've learned all of the 25th. I've handled cases in all 5 counties. I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time in Fayette County. I've also had a lot of time to spend in all the other counties. I normally spend most time in Tipton County, where I've been the head of the drug prosecution of the Judicial Drug Task Force. We have increased our prosecution of those cases tenfold since I've been part of that. We've been really aggressive with the keeping drugs out of schools. And I tell you that to tell you this, that the reason that I'm running for public defender is that I'm from here and I want to make a difference. I get asked on the trail the most, the campaign trail the most, how will I defend a case? And I say that I've defended cases for the last 7 years. What I mean when I say that is there's always a victim in every case. It could be a mother who's been beat by her husband, or a child who's been victimized by a sex offender. And every day it's different. I go in there and I have to look the child in the eye and do my best to keep that person in jail, or keep that person from doing it again. I look forward to switching sides and making a difference. We've had a lot of fun on this trail, meeting everyone. Okay, thank you. In closing, I'd like to say that I'd love to have your vote in the August 7th election, and thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Shannon.
Well, I always wanted to be in the spotlight, but let me tell you, I can't hardly see y'all. These lights are so bright, so they're quite bright. I think we're all three sitting up here blinking a lot. I want to thank you, Brother Ken, Warren Community Church, the Tea Party, for inviting us all tonight. And I want to thank God, like Mr. Norton did, for getting us here safely. And I hope the weather is beginning to subside. It doesn't sound or look as bad out the front door. Fayette County is my home. I have been with the Public Defender's Office for 24 years as of September 15th. So it's closer to 24 now than it is to 23, which is what most of my literature says. I have been the Senior Assistant District Public Defender for 19 years. And what that means is I handle the daily operations of the office. I help supervise 7 attorneys or assistant public defenders. And we are, contrary to popular belief amongst a lot of the defendants who we represent, we are licensed to practice law as any other attorney is in Tennessee, or we would not be in this position. My husband is Jeff Johnson. He works at Nike Corporation in Memphis. He works the second shift Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and he works for Kraft Mechanical in heating and air conditioning maintenance. He works in maintenance at the Nike Corporation. I have 2 children, Charleston, who is 16 and who's in the audience somewhere, but I can't really see her for these bright lights. I have a son who I did not give birth to, Trent Johnson, who is 21 years old and who I've raised since he was 8 years old. Trent is currently in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, as he serves as a medic in the Army National Guard, and he is currently at summer camp. He also works in Shelby County. I have lived in Fayette County almost 26 years. I have lived in Tennessee for 30 years, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you that I'm not like most women. I don't care if you know what my age is. I'm 51 years old. I have represented the criminally accused for 24 years at the Public Defender's Office, 25 total when I had a year of private practice. Being a public defender, we represent who the judge tells us to represent. We don't pick and choose cases. I have handled every kind of case from juvenile to the Supreme Court of the state of Tennessee. I am death penalty qualified, and I have participated in the defense of 3 death penalty cases, and fortunately none of those 3 individuals have ended up on death row. And I see my time is up. Thank you.
The Sixth Amendment to our Constitution provides that in every criminal case, the accused shall enjoy the right to the assistance of counsel for his defense. Now, I'm a conservative Christian. I'm a member of Gateway Baptist Church in Atoka, Tennessee. My dad is a Southern Baptist minister. My son is a worship pastor and is currently attending seminary up in Louisville. The First Amendment is extremely important to me. I'm a responsible gun owner. I'm a longtime member of the NRA. The Second Amendment is important to me as well. I'm a supporter of states' rights and a firm believer in the 10th Amendment. And 32 years ago, I stood in front of an American flag, and like many of you in this room, I raised my right hand and I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Not parts of the Constitution, all of the Constitution. In this day and age, in these times, it's more important than ever to elect leaders that are committed to defending our constitutional rights and to protecting our Constitution. But I started off with the Sixth Amendment because the position for which I'm running, that of public defender, is first and foremost a defense attorney. He's not there to roll over for the state. He's not there to roll over for the judge. He's not there to move meat. He's there to represent clients. He's there to advocate. He's there to defend. I've been representing and practicing criminal defense since I was admitted to the Tennessee bar in 2006. I've taken hundreds of hours of specialized training in criminal defense, and I fully meet the qualifications established by the Tennessee Supreme Court to meet those, to represent those criminal defendants that are accused of capital cases where the state is seeking that most ultimate punishment. But I bring more to the table than just being a good criminal defense lawyer. I'm also an educator. I'm an adjunct professor of criminal justice at UT Martin's Ripley Center, and I presented to other lawyers as an expert in criminal defense. I oversee juvenile justice cases. I sit as the special judge and magistrate of the Juvenile Court of Tipton County. I handle all the juvenile delinquent cases that come up through that court, making determinations of guilt or innocence after I impartially hear the evidence and imposing sanctions and punishments. The public defender oversees indigent defense in our 5-county district. He must possess the maturity and the leadership and management skills to supervise the attorneys throughout the district, to oversee the office, and to manage the budget. I've been a leader in the boardroom. I've been a leader in the battlefield. I possess the leadership skills to oversee indigent defense. I've managed attorneys. I've managed all facets of establishing a law practice. I'm capable of overseeing indigent defense throughout the district. I'm an experienced, committed defense attorney with the maturity and the leadership management skills. I'm asking for your support, and I'm asking for your vote for public defender. My name is Lyle Jones. It's nice to be here tonight.
Let's give our candidates a hand. All right, we'll start with our questions now, and we'll start here with Bo, right? We'll start with Bo and move down. So, Bo, if you'll move to the microphone. First question tonight.
I guess I answered them all.
Hey, y'all did a great job. You answered all the questions. Any questions from anyone for Bo? All right, one minute.
Hi, Bo.
Hey.
I'm probably going to pick up on something that Mr. Jones said, but I'm a little bit confused, actually, on what you all had to say in the role of a public defender as far as, quote, prosecuting people. Can you describe a little bit exactly, I mean, I understand what defense is, but I'm not clear that I understand the difference between defending somebody you want to defend or not, or who's guilty or not. And if you could just explain a little bit more what a public defender's role is, I'd appreciate that.
Sure. A public defender is a criminal attorney who is appointed by the judge to represent an indigent client. Indigent means they can't afford an attorney. And the public defender can't refuse that case, and they're appointed on any case that involves actual criminal or jail time. So that goes from a DUI all the way to first-degree murder. At the end of that, sometimes the judge will assess a small fee. I think it's usually about $150 to the defendant. But other than that, I think, is that what you were asking?
I think I'm asking, so if you know a person's guilty, how do you defend the person anyway?
I got you. Well, you took an oath all three of us took an oath when we were sworn into the bar to represent anyone that we have to accuse of a crime with zealousness and being ethical about it. It's a charge that few of us have. It's just the ones admitted to the criminal bar or the bar. You have to do it in a manner that you can live with yourself at night. I'm not your attorney that's going to use every trick in the book to get someone off. I'm your attorney that's going to make sure that all their constitutional rights are upheld and that it's a fair and just trial.
All right. Question from Ms. Shannon. Ms. Shannon, please.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson, you've served for several years as public defender. With all due respect, would you please give us some reasons why you feel that you should be re-elected to this position?
Yes, I have done this a long time, and every morning when I get up, there's a plaque on my kitchen wall when I leave my house, and it's how I try to represent all of my clients and conduct my life. And it says, character is doing what's right when nobody's looking. And most of the people I encounter on a daily basis who can't afford an attorney and who the judge asked me to represent are people that most people would not just voluntarily represent. And I try to treat them every day like I would want my children, Trent or Charleston, to be treated, which, if heaven forbid, they were to find themselves under arrest, incarcerated, and in the need of an attorney. So, as Mr. Burke said, I think my record, if you want to speak to people I've represented over 24 years, I think you could, many of them live in this community. I've practiced in all 5 counties. I've handled cases. I've handled every type of case in every county over these 24 years, and very rarely, I believe, will you find a defendant or his family who will say I was not honest with them, that I did not tell them what all their options were. I know what their options are, and I try to recommend what's best. They don't always take it, but I try to treat everybody kindly and fairly, just like I would want to be treated if I were a defendant.
All right. Question now from Mr. Jones. Anyone? Question?
First of all, I can tell you I'm not a planner, honestly. Just like to know, what would you define as a measure of success for this office?
Let me make sure. You said, what would I define as a measure of success for the office? Okay. I'm sorry, my hearing has been damaged a little bit. I'm wearing hearing aids, and y'all got a real, but there's...
With hearing aids especially.
Yes, sir. The success of this office, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because they're taping it, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The success of the office, it's very difficult to quantify. Because what is successful might vary from person to person, but what I would consider success in this office is rendering effective assistance to individual clients. You can't count that or quantify it in the number of trials that you go to or the number of not guilty verdicts, because a defense lawyer has to measure success one client at a time. In my personal life, when I represent clients, you have to look at each individual client and did I get the best outcome possible for that client. For some clients, that matter is did I negotiate effectively and get an effective offer from the state. Some client is did I take the state to the mat? Did I push them to a trial? Did I get an effective outcome? Did I get a not guilty verdict from a jury? But in every case, it's got to be, did I effectively advocate? Did I defend his rights? And by defending that particular client's rights, did I defend all of our rights? Did I support and aggressively defend all of our rights under the Constitution by effectively defending that client's rights. And when I get the best particular outcome for that particular client, that's the measure of success.
All right. Question now for vote. All right. Question for Ms. Shana. Question for Clyde. All right. If not, we will give you now 2 minutes to make a closing statement. So we'll start with you both, and you make a final closing statement. And then Ms. Shana, you'll come right up and then one.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. I'd also like to thank Pastor Ken for allowing us to have a forum such as this, and also the Tea Party. I would like to ask you for your vote in August. Early voting starts July the 18th. And also I'd like your vote because I'm the only one that can say that I know how a DA thinks. I've been one for 7.5 years. I know what they're going to do, and I know what they're looking for if you're charged with a criminal offense to get a better offer. And I also ask you for 3 things. I ask you for your prayers, because it's a big, 5 counties is very large. Sleep comes very rarely to me and my wife. I ask you for your vote, like I've already asked you. And I ask you, because I plan on knocking on every one of your doors, I ask you that if it's in July and it's really hot, you open the door a little wider so we can get some of that AC. And if you have any sweet tea on hand, that would be much appreciated to me and my wife. So thank you very much.
I just want to once again thank you for having us tonight, all 3 of us. I hope you do have a little better understanding of what the Public Defender's Office is about. We are, in answer to a question that was asked earlier, we are appointed and the judge selects who we represent, and there are certain guidelines that the judge has to go by. You know, you can't just say, well, I've been arrested, I want a public defender, because I don't want to spend any money on a private attorney. So there are guidelines. I know those guidelines very well. I know the court system in this district very well. I feel like our office has done an excellent job for the past almost 24 years that I've worked there. We have 7 great assistants, 3 support staff that are very, very good and very knowledgeable. And we work well with the current district attorney general staff. We work very well with law enforcement, and I would ask for your support and your prayers. And if anybody would like to talk to me personally, my cell phone number is on my cards, and I would welcome your call or your email if you have any questions or concerns that you'd like to discuss more personally or privately. But thank you very much.
The 17-year-old kid that stood in front of that flag and took that oath, he had no idea that it was going to lead to me standing in front of you tonight asking for your support in this political process. Thank you for coming out today. Make no mistake, I am asking for your support and I'm asking for your vote. Today, more than ever, it is important to elect leaders that are committed to our Constitution and to defending our constitutional rights. Thank you for coming out. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you guys for making your name. All right. Great forum tonight. Great questions and great representation from our candidates. As our next group will be making their way for General Sessions Judge, Mr. Dennis will come up and change the name tags, and you'll just be making your way up. All right. Gentlemen, thank you for coming, and we will follow the same format here tonight. You will have 3 minutes to introduce yourself. Our timekeeper will hold up to 30 seconds for you to wind up your time with announcements there. So we'll start with you, Matthew.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's a privilege to be here, a privilege to be able to explain myself to you. A lot of people out there I've met and a lot that I haven't. When they said I had 3 minutes to introduce myself, that's a pretty tight time span. So what I want to do is hit 4 bullet points that I feel like describe me well. Number 1, I'm a Christian. I'm a proud member of this church right here, Warren Community Church. I serve on the trustee board, and I also help with the children's ministry. Number 2, I'm a husband. My beautiful wife, Cindy, is here with me tonight. The 3 boys are with the grandparents. And August the 7th, I'll be married 15 years. Number 3, I'm a father. I have 3 young boys, 12, 9, and 5. I'm still trying to call them young. I'll be a 13-year-old in January. And number 4, I'm an attorney. I have practiced in Somerville for over 10 years. I practice in the firm of Matthews, Ray & Armour. I'm a partner there. And my background is I graduated from Mississippi State, graduated from high school. I was salutatorian of Fayette Academy in 1996, graduated from Mississippi State University in 1999, worked for 2 years at the Mid-South Farmers Co-op, used to be Hardeman Fayette Co-op, and decided to go on to law school. Everything I've done in my life has been a product of prayer. I wanted to stay in Fayette County and prayed about it, and the light bulb went on in 2000, and in the year 2000, had a good friend of mine, Bill Ray, asked me if I'd be interested in going to law school. So I did. I graduated in 2004, or 2003, licensed to practice law in 2004, and have practiced in Somerville since that time. Since that time, I have practiced in the criminal court, civil court, juvenile court, probate court, domestic issues in chancery and in circuit court. And I'm proud to say that I've maintained my office in Somerville and that I've worked predominantly in Fayette County. I do handle multiple cases in the rest of the 25th Judicial District and occasionally in Shelby County. In 2009, I was appointed to the Board of Professional Responsibility as a hearing panel member by the Supreme Court of Tennessee, and the definition of that position would be that we are impaneled by the Supreme Court to hear ethics violations of the Tennessee Bar in our district, which is District 7. So from a standpoint of experience hearing facts, applying them to cases, and applying the canons of judicial ethics, I've been doing that since 2009. I continue to serve on that hearing panel. In 2004 to 2009, I was the president of the executive board of Fayette Cares. Proud to say I was a small part, but a part of the erection of the Hope's Cottage. Also, I'm involved in my children's lives. I like to provide safe activities for our young children so that they can stay out of trouble and hopefully avoid the troubles that so many misguided youths have. I feel like with the experience that I've had, the history in Fayette County, and the training that I've received through not only my partners, but my experience in the courtroom, that I'm the best candidate for the job, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
I thank you, Brother Ken, as well as the Fayette Tea Party for putting this event on. My name is Jim Gallagher. I'm running for Fayette County General Sessions and Juvenile Court Judge. This is one position, this is one judge for both of those positions, and I bring up juvenile court because that is an important part of this election. I've been in private practice for 36 years. I've handled well in excess of 30,000 cases. I'm a trial lawyer. I've handled cases in criminal court, civil court, probate court, chancery court, circuit court, and United States District Court. I've handled cases in Tennessee, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, California, Florida, North Carolina, Kentucky. I've never handled one in Arkansas. I've always referred those out. I just didn't want to go across the bridge, I think. I've been a judge for 9 years, and that's very important as well. I believe in fair and consistent application of the law. When people walk in my courtroom and when they walk out of the courtroom, they feel like they got a fair shake. I feel like you should listen to the facts and evidence presented to you, and that's your job, whether it be an individual standing in front of you or a district attorney general and a defense lawyer standing in front of you. You need to listen to their presentation of the case and make a ruling on the relevant material evidence that has come before you. My connection to Fayette County is that I own a horse farm. I breed thoroughbred racehorses. I've been doing that since 1990. I get up and I'm in my barn about an hour before sunrise every day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. Don't hold that 30 seconds up yet. I then, after a couple hours out there, I go in, take a shower, get cleaned up, and go into my law practice. I've volunteered for things all over this county, and I've been blessed to be named Person of the Year and Man of the Year on 2 different occasions, and I very humbly accepted the presentation of Best Attorney of 2014. I ask for each one of y'all to vote for me. I also ask for each one of you to support me in my campaign for judge. I think it's time to bring in someone who has practiced, maybe not just in this location. We have a lot of issues and problems coming to this county, and we need to be prepared to take care of those issues and problems. I feel that court is a serious situation. People there are there because they have serious situations, and it takes a serious person to handle those. I thank you very much. My time's up. I ask for your vote. Look forward to your questions. Vote for Jim Gallagher on August the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, Mike. Mike, it's your turn.
Thank you, Ken. I'm Mike Whitaker. I'm the serving General Sessions and juvenile judge. I'm going to tell you what we do up there. Now, let me tell you, we don't pretend, or I don't pretend, to get everything right. I try to limit myself to 3 mistakes a week and 1 colossal screw up a month. I adopted that principle about 20 years ago. You can't get it all right. It will choke you down, bog you down. Here's what we did just last year, 2013. 276 juvenile delinquency cases, 44 dependent and neglected children cases, and they are the most soul-crushing cases you can possibly hear. This one really doesn't count. 4,050 traffic cases. Most of them don't even show up, and if they do, they're dealt with by my magistrate and traffic school or whatnot. 1,268 criminal cases. That is, we concluded them as misdemeanors or were bound over. And I want to touch on one part of the criminal prosecution. This is simply the very best element of my courtroom, and that is the DUI prosecutor program that General Mike Donovan and Matt Hooper put in place with Joyce Pulliam. That is the most effective thing that has ever been done for criminal justice in this county. And for no other reason, I would vote for Mike Donovan again. And I intend to, and I encourage you to do so. 67 orders of protection, 91 domestic assaults, 1,046 civil cases, 112 mental commitments. They're not even done here. I do those in the courtroom at Western State Hospital. 56 child custody cases, 50 plus or minus child support contempt with jail cases, 120 paternity child support cases. I started the first drug court in this county with a grant. We've received more than $500,000 in grant money. 100% doesn't cost the county a penny. I have a program that has, last year, 33 participants. In 2013-14. We had 12 graduate. We have failures, but we also have a recidivist rate, that is, people recharged or re-indicted, coming back in the program, of 17% as opposed to the national average of over 40%. Donna Lewis and the drug court team get credit for that. Like I say, it's not a perfect system, but it's a system I work hard at. It functions, and frankly, I think I'm the only person in the world who understands how all the pieces come together and how it works. Thank you.
All right, we move to our question time, and we'll start with Matthew Arnold first. Question for Matthew. What? Question here.
This is like a two-part question for all of you, if you don't mind. First off, recently there was a judge in Arkansas. He overturned a vote by the Arkansas people. Now, in what regard that subject is, I'll leave that to you if you want to bring that up. Do you think it's the right of a judge to overturn the majority of vote of how people vote? Second one is the Constitution outdated? Should we change it, add to it, or subtract to it? Those are my two questions.
Well, in regards to your first question, if it's appropriate, as far as my pledge, I can pledge to you that I would take the facts presented to the General Sessions and Juvenile Court and apply it to the existing case, the existing statutes. You have to apply the facts to a case on a case-by-case basis. So I know I can't answer that question in detail, but that would be my pledge to you as a voter, is that I would use my level-headed approach to listen to both sides of the case and apply that to the facts at hand. The constitutional question, we made a pledge and we took an oath to uphold the Constitution. And the Constitution is black and white. It's set out, it's been interpreted in case law in the past. We have the ability through the beauty of internet to have Westlaw or LexisNexis to see the precedents that have been set in the prior court cases. And that's what we're bound to apply statutes, case law, to the facts that have been presented to us as judges and make the best rulings we can based on our moral compass.
All right, thank you. Jim, would you come up and address that same question, the two-part question you needed to ask again?
I need the first part asked again. I didn't really understand everything you said.
Recently in Arkansas, a judge overturned, the people had a vote on a certain subject, and the majority voted for that, the people. But then the judge, one single judge, reversed that whole decision and went against the majority of the people, how they voted. Now, like I said, I won't bring up the subject, but what do you do in a situation, say, if you were that judge?
I've been asked questions like that a lot of times over the years. It's, you know, without knowing specifically what the situation was about, it's very hard to address a question like that. But I would say that what we are bound to do as a judge is to listen to all the relevant material evidence, to read the statutory law, to read the case opinions, and apply the law correctly, consistently, and fairly. And that's exactly what I would do in that situation. Regarding the second part of your question, the Constitution is a living document, and it's something I firmly believe in. At another forum, someone asked me, and I feel kind of naked because I left it. Someone asked me a similar question about the Constitution, and I pulled it out of my pocket, and I said, "You mean this?" It's always open to interpretation in case law. The United States Supreme Court has interpreted it in many different ways over the years. I'm much more of a conservative constitutionalist. I believe much more in the literal reading of the Constitution. But I have to follow the laws set down in the case law set down by the United States Supreme Court and apply them, again, equally and fairly. I hope that answers the question.
All right. Mike, would you come and address those two questions?
Okay. The first one about a judge overruling a vote of the people, you've got to understand, I think there's a pecking order of judicial power. In the United States Supreme Court, the Federal Circuit Courts of Appeal, U.S. courts, State Supreme Court, Courts of Appeal in Tennessee, Circuit Courts, and then General Sessions. We are so far from that kind of decision making, I really wouldn't worry about it right now. I mean, I'm just trying to get through the day. I'm not going to rewrite the Constitution. I'm not going to try to set aside the vote of the majority. Now, you asked me the second question, what part of the Constitution I would change. I was a political science major, studied the government, studied it still. All of American government changed with the adoption of the 16th Amendment, the income tax. When the money flows to Washington, the power flows to Washington. There's no such thing as states' rights anymore. The money goes to Washington, the power comes back. They define how we try our cases. They write the regulations of how we will handle orders of protection. They direct the activities of our Department of Children's Services. They control my life. And why? Because Tennessee gets millions and millions of dollars. Same's true in DUI cases. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's got the money. They send it down here. So we have to undergo the horizontal nystagmus gaze test in the DUI prosecution because they require it, but we don't pay any attention to it. Our courts have ruled it hadn't been validated. They take the money by the income tax, they send it back, and they control our lives. That's what I would change.
Question for Matthew.
Ms. What are some of your good, strong character traits that you possess that will make you an effective judge?
Well, I'd say the strongest trait would be the fact that I gauge all my activities by what I've learned here in this church and in the churches in my past. Christianity is one of the most important things in my life. So I would pray that that would be my strongest trait. I'm not going to stand up here and say that it is. Another strong trait would be the fact that I know how to work hard. I feel like we can utilize our time during the week in the judicial system to alleviate some of the backlog. You know, we may be able to expand our court days to allow more people to get in with a little less pressure on the system in general. One of my, another trait is my family values. I grew up farming. It's a tough life, it's a fun life, and it's something that I try to pass on to my children in their daily life. You've got to work hard to achieve what you set your mind to, and I feel like if you apply that good hard work ethic to anything, especially a position such as this, the people of the county are dependent on the General Sessions Judge and the Juvenile Judge to give their best effort to decide these cases, to dive into the cases, to listen intently, and to make rulings based on and when you're making decisions based on somebody's character, you've got to use what you've been taught, what you've witnessed, to make a determination who is telling the truth, who's not quite telling the truth, and what you can do to make a fair and equitable ruling in that matter.
Thank you, Matthew. Question for Jim. Question here.
I'd like to know what makes you think you can be the best judge.
Because I know I can. Seriously, I've done it. And you know, I've sat in excess of 150 times as a special appointed general sessions judge in Shelby County, both in criminal court, civil court, and in juvenile court, back before they had magistrates. I know I can because when the litigants leave, and the defense lawyers leave, and the prosecutors leave, they say, "Judge, you did a good job. We got a fair shake." And I hear that from both sides, whether they win or lose. There's a very short list of attorneys back when they used to do it, before some new rules were passed by the Tennessee Supreme Court on how a judge was selected to be a special judge when the sitting judge was out on vacation or had an emergency doctor's appointment. And I could always tell that when the clerks started looking for me, and the prosecutor started looking for me, and the bailiff started looking for me, I kind of said, over the years of doing it for so long, I said, I must be doing something right, or they wouldn't come looking for me. I'm a highly ethical person. That's one of my biggest traits, and I'm going to carry that to the bench of the Fayette County General Sessions and Juvenile Court. And that's what I'm going to bring to Fayette County and to the people here. My work ethic is, well, I just work myself to death. I love my Facebook comments when they say, "Jim, why don't you take a rest sometimes?" I'd like to get our kids in and start counseling them on Fridays. I've already talked to counselors and successful business leaders to try to accomplish that goal. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, I'll be more than happy to talk to you afterwards.
All right, Mike, would you come? Question for Mike? Yes.
Judge, as an officer of the court and a practicing attorney, judicial ethics are very important to me. My question to you is, how do you value judicial ethics? And are you, as a judge, allowed to endorse
Yes.
a candidate?
It's been ruled on by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals and had to do with the General Sessions Judge in Williamson County. Yes, I can endorse anybody I want. And I'm endorsing Mike Dunham. Thank you.
All right, question for Matthew. One minute, yes.
Yes, Matthew. I believe I heard Judge Gallagher, he's been a judge for 8 years. How many years have you been a judge?
Well, I would say that in response to that, Mr. Gallagher has been a municipal judge, and I have sat on the Board of Professional Responsibility as a hearing panel member. And to explain that in a little further detail, when an attorney gets a complaint filed and the board attorney determines that it is serious enough to warrant a hearing, it is passed along to the hearing panel, which I am one of many that are appointed to these cases, and we sit and hear those cases. So we're making determinations on whether a person continues to practice law, whether they are publicly censured, privately censured, whether they're put on probation, basically making a decision on whether this person continues their livelihood. So I would submit that although I don't have the title judge, I don't intend on using it unless I'm elected, I would say that that is a judicial capacity from the standpoint of hearing facts, applying the canons to those cases, and making some very serious decisions based on what's going to happen in this person's life in the future. So that was since 2009, and I'm still on that panel.
Thank you.
All right, question for Jim. And Jim, your name was brought up in the question, so if you'd like to address anything of that question, you can do that, and we can wait for another question.
Well, just to clarify, it's not 8 years. I've been a judge for 9, but in addition to those 9 are as I said, well over 150 times I've sat as a special appointed judge for, geez, that went on for 15, 20 years until I just said not going to do it anymore.
All right, question from anyone? Jim.
Hi, Mr. President. We heard from our DA candidates about repeat offenders, and I think most of us agree that repeat offenders are not commonly seen in the community. One of the issues they mentioned in that problem is that judges often make deals and do things that cause repeat offenders to be repeat offenders. Do you agree with that statement? And if not, how do you propose that we deal with minimizing repeat offenders?
I've been counseling young people for 30 years, individually in my office, in church groups, and youth groups. And I've developed over this time a lecture called The Consequences of Your Actions. And I put my money where my mouth is. If I'm going to tell juveniles and explain to them the consequences of what happens to them, their family and loved ones, the people around them when they break the law, then I plan on doing the same thing starting September of this year. I believe that when you break the law, you should suffer a consequence, no different than a 6-year-old intentionally busting a lamp against the wall. If you don't do anything and just say, well, okay, Johnny, forget it, or Susie, or whoever, I don't want to leave a girl out, then they'll just keep doing it. And they'll probably do worse things. So there's got to be a punishment. There's got to be a consequence. Now, the years of experience is where you know what the proper punishment is and how to apply it. It could be a fine, it could be jail time, it could be probation. But that's where the experience comes in. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Jim. Mike, if you make your way, a question from Mike? Yes, right back here.
Well, somebody will... Yes. Okay, I didn't see.
Yes, I'm just a little confused by something that you said in the very, very beginning, and I just kind of want to see if you can help me with it. If I'm not mistaken, you said you're the only person in the world that understands all the pieces and how they come together.
It works like, right. It works like no other court in the state of Tennessee. It is a special court with probate, domestic relations, mental commitments, adult criminal, adult civil, and adult domestic violence courts. They are compartmentalized. Juvenile court now doesn't function in the courtroom anymore. It's like cloud computing because of a decision out of the Sixth Circuit about taking children away without a hearing. I just had a hearing at my house before I left at 5 o'clock. I had to pull 2 kids. That's in compliance with the Sixth Circuit ruling that they have to go before a judge before they take the children. When to commit a juvenile, when you can commit a juvenile, I committed a 15-year-old into a psychiatric hospital at 1:30 this afternoon. It's out here. What goes on in the courtroom is nothing. They've changed the rules in juvenile court working with DCS, CPS. It's out here. For 2 minutes in the courtroom, there may be hours, months, years go on. Now they've placed the judge into case management. That didn't used to be the case. But I can handle it now. It took me 3 years to understand how to handle juvenile court. They changed it about a year ago, and it's still changing. I'm on top of it. I think I can manage it, but it's different. But I'm the only person who knows all of it. No. No. Unless you've done it, you wouldn't know it. Incidentally, they're wonderful lawyers and wonderful people. I love them both.
All right, question from Matthew. Yes, right.
I'm going to ask you the same question, Matthew. What makes you think that you'll be the best candidate for judge?
I feel like number one, my experience and my training. I've been practicing for over 10 years. I've handled a wide array of cases, and although I've practiced predominantly in Fayette County, I have practiced in Shelby, McNairy, Lauderdale, Tipton, just came back last week from Weakley County. So exposure to different types of judges, exposures to different types of procedures, and being able to take from that how you feel like a court can be run in a more efficient way, being able to listen and hear the facts, listen to each side before making a determination. I tell everybody that one of the most difficult jobs I've ever done was being the president of the Marsh Chamber Athletic League for the last 8 years in dealing with parents in youth athletics. That is about as close to having to listen to two conflicting sides and make a determination as to where the truth lies in the middle. But my experiences through my life, raising my 3 children, having the love and support of my parents that have kept me on the straight and narrow for over 36 years, and knowing what common sense approach to the law and being able to take common sense and a good moral foundation in applying the case law, the statutory law, to the facts that are presented, and coming up with solutions that are going to help people to avoid children that are going to go down the same path as their parents, or avoid adults coming back into the courtroom. You've got to take that knowledge and the experience with the community and apply it to the cases where you hopefully can get people to become productive citizens.
All right, Jim? Question for Jim?
Come on.
One question here, lady right in the center.
First of all, I want to say I appreciate all 3 of you gentlemen taking your time and your energy and your money to run for judge. So really just a question for all 3 of you. We'll start with Jim first. What is your feeling about the Supreme Court justices being appointed? And do you think that they should have to run for election too in this state?
I don't really know much of what that has to do with general sessions, but I thought they ran retention elections, don't they? I mean, they do run a retention election, so they are on the ballot. So, but I think all judges, let's do it this way. I think all judges need to run for election. This is a job, folks. Don't get caught up in fancy rhetoric and the words elections and the red, white, and blues out there. What we're doing is asking for a job. This is an 8-year job, an 8-year contract. Currently, the 8 years are going to be up in August for the current judge. You've got 3 applicants asking for a job. Who do you want? What kind of judge do you want? Y'all hire and fire. So I'm kind of answering your question generally. But I believe all judges should. And Supreme Court judges do have a retention. It's a yes or no push button. But bear in mind again, what do you want for a judge? And that's how you need to go in there and vote. So again, I hope that answered your question the best I could, and thank you very much.
Mike? Would like to address any part of that question, certainly. Go right ahead.
Well, I've been around long enough to have known a court of criminal appeals judge and a state Supreme Court judge. The voters said no on. Charles Galbraith was one of them. He was on the Court of Criminal Appeals. He made himself famous by writing an obscene letter to the editor of Hustler magazine. And that got him out of office. I don't know, I'm both ways about it. The public should have input on who's sitting on the Supreme Court. And we're talking about the state Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court, obviously not. It would be too unwieldy and too big. But if you got a bad judge, you can get rid of a bad judge. Galbraith was one of the worst judges, most embarrassing judges that ever sat in the state of Tennessee. And when he put that letter in Hustler magazine, he was gone. I brought my phone to remind me to tell all of you about Mobile Patrol. It's a free app. You can see everybody in the Fayette County Jail as they come in. I check it every morning to see my old friends. But look, we don't determine who goes to jail or not. There's a grid set out about what the punishment level is. It's set by the legislature, not Mike Donovan, not me, not my opponents here. We have nothing to do with it. First offender is going to be diversion, second time probably probation, third to go into felony, maybe felony probation. We don't do that. They tell us what we do. Okay?
All right, thanks, Mike. Matthew, you want to address that question?
I would. I do believe that our individuals who fought have given us the right to elect the people that we want to rule us. And the General Sessions Judge is an elected position for a reason. The 8-year term, that's a long term. And to be able to select the person that's going to preside over the cases of essentially Fayette County. Hopefully none of you in here will have to come before the court, but with the many hats that our General Sessions Judge wears, you may have a grandchild that comes through there. You may have a property owner that damaged some of your property. It's under $25,000 and you've sued them. You'll be coming in front of the General Sessions Judge. If you have somebody that has broken into your garage and taken your car, taken your four-wheeler, taken your fishing rods, whatever it may be, you're going to be a victim that's coming before the General Sessions Court. So the ability to elect the people that are going to make decisions that affect your life is something that I believe very strongly in. And as far as the upper level judges, they are not in any better position than we are. The retention is a very confusing way of maintaining the judges, but as Judge Whitaker stated, if somebody does something bad enough, the people will find a way to get them out of those positions. So the short answer is yes, I believe that all judges should be elected.
All right, Jim? Question for Jim. All right, no question for Jim. Question for Mike? All right, if there's no question, candidates, thank you for your time. What we want to give you now is a closing statement. So, Mike, you're already up there. We'll just go in reverse this time. You go first, then Jim, then...
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate the invitation to be here tonight. I want to say about my opponents, Matthew Armour's like a son to me. Love him dearly. Jim Gallagher is a wonderful man and a great friend of mine. It's a pleasure to be up here with him and an honor. And I want to thank you. I'd like to keep on doing what I'm doing because I know how to do it. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Brother Ken, for giving us this wonderful venue, and the Fayette Tea Party for scheduling all of these forums. I attended them all, and I very much enjoyed listening to all the candidates. Thank you all for coming out in the rain and the storm, and let's hope that everything will be clear when we go out, because I didn't bring my umbrella with me. So, again, my name is Jim Gallagher, and I'm running for Fayette County General Sessions Judge. I come before you with all the experience in the world. I've handled all of these issues that you've heard tonight as a defense lawyer, and sometimes as a specially appointed General Sessions Judge or juvenile court judge. So I've been down these roads with incompetence hearings and talking with social workers. My passion for this job, y'all have heard me say it, some of you have, some of you haven't, so I'll tell you guys now, it's because it's also the juvenile judge. My passion for this job is to counsel juveniles and be directly involved with them, just like the many that I've talked to over the last 30 years. I very much would appreciate all of your vote, your support, and I'd like you to go talk to your family and friends and say, you know what? He's got what we need for General Sessions Judge. I'm brutally ethical. I like to follow the line. I like to impose consequences, whatever those consequences rightly should be. So, as some of my Facebook buddies will ask me, the horses are doing fine, the dogs and the cats are good. I do have a life other than law, although I do have a passion for law and counseling with juveniles. Please remember to read my articles about the law in the Fayette Falcon, and let's all learn a little law in our weekly newspaper. Ask for your vote on August 7 and early voting. Thank you very much.
I'm proud to be here tonight. I'm proud that God has blessed all three of us and everybody here to be here. When I was 18 years old, my younger brother passed away. He was 16. And at that moment, I committed myself to do everything I could each day to make the world a better place. Now, granted, I'm not a broad-minded person, so I focused on Fayette County. The ability to do well in school, I count that as a gift. The ability to complete law school, pass the bar, and practice law in the state of Tennessee. I love Tennessee, I love Fayette County, I love Summerville. I've lived here my entire life. I tell you that not that that is a trait any different than any other of my opponents. It's just that I am committed to Fayette County. I'm committed to the oath I took in 2004 to uphold the laws of the state of Tennessee. And I have 3 young children and three nephews, 1 niece and a nephew on the way. I'm committed to Fayette County. I'm committed to making sure that it's a safe environment for everybody to live, to grow as a family, to work and retire. And one of the aspects that's very important to that is the person that's sitting on the General Sessions bench. You're going to hear the juvenile cases, you're going to hear the criminal cases, you're going to hear the civil cases. I feel like my experience, not only as an attorney, but as a father and a husband and a citizen of Fayette County, and also my time as a hearing panel member, my time serving on boards, managing large companies and large budgets, is very essential to the management of this court system. And for that reason, I'm asking for you to support me in this bid for the Fayette County General Sessions and Juvenile Judge, and to assist me up and through August the 7th, and pray for my strength and my family's strength. And I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. You guys can leave it with now. Thank you for coming. Great questions, and guys, great answers. Really was. Y'all did a super job. Thank you. All right. We will be moving to our final session, and that will be the candidates for our Register of Deeds. So if those are available, would you please come forward at this time? And Brother Dennis will be putting your names up here.
Got our battery getting low on there.
On this one?
You got battery set. We gotta have these kind of, this assisted seat. This one, you're doing it all over, we didn't want to change anything.
I can change the battery real quick, I think. It's bad to have a PhD and not know how to put a battery in a microphone, isn't it?
And you got another one here that's trying to mess up on us, both of them are.
I think Gary's on his way.
That's what we hired Gary for. Come on down here, Gary. Oh, you got a battery? Okay. Turn it back on.
Did he swap this one?
No.
with it again?
No. Put a new battery in.
It'll probably be okay.
Yeah. I don't want to know. I've got plenty to do.
You're not the maintenance man.
That's right. All right.
Thanks.
Well, we move to our final session, our Register of Deeds, and we read that the other two candidates, Ms. Sissy and Ms. Heather, could not be here because of conflicts. So we welcome Ms. Judy tonight. So Ms. Judy, you come and share with us, introduce yourself, and then we'll open up for questions.
Okay. Can you hear me? I'm Judy Newman Patton. I'm a candidate for the Fayette County Register of Deeds. I'm 55 years old, married to Tim Patton. We have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and I'm a child of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I wouldn't want to leave that out. I'm an active member of Liberty Baptist Church. I have been raised and worked in Fayette County all my life. I began working in the Register's office in 1982. I came in as Eddie Paddock's deputy. I was his deputy for 20 years. They changed the title to administrative assistant, and I have been his administrative assistant for 11 years. So my total tenure there is 31 years. I enjoy being a Fayette County public servant, and I am asking you to consider me as your next Register of Deeds because of my 31 years in dedication to this great county. I enjoy meeting the public and serving them and in the capacity of the Register's office. I appreciate the Tea Party and Warren Community Church for hosting this forum, and I hate none of my opponents are here, and I just ask you, covet your vote and just ask for you to vote for experience, and with these 31 years I don't have to be trained, and I appreciate your attendance tonight.
All right, Ms. Slater. Are there any questions for Ms. Judy tonight? Yes, one back here.
Wow, that is loud. I'm kind of a genealogy buff, and I'm just curious how many genealogy folks y'all get and how easily y'all suffer those folks that want to come in and look through the records.
Well, we love talking to those that come in, and usually it's in the summertime, usually when they frequent our office, and they enjoy getting back there and digging into those handwritten records. And yes, they are difficult to read, but over the years, you know, we help them as much as possible and enjoy them coming in the office. So if you have family here or have had family, I encourage you to come by. And the records do go back to the 1820s. The first 3 books are the 3 grant books, and then the deed books begin. So they are very interesting to look at. I think Debbie Norton's been in, and we've looked at a few things that she was interested in, and welcome any of you to come and look at the records.
All right. Any other questions from Ms. Judy? Yes, right here.
Judy, when Eddie's on vacation or in Tunica, do you run the office?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, Ms. Patty.
Hello, Michael.
All right, I've known you a long time, have great respect for you, but I'm just going to make this very simple. Why do you want to serve as our Register of Deeds? Okay.
Well, as I said, I have 31 years experience. I'm 55 years old, and guess what? I'm too old to do anything else. Nobody wants a 55-year-old. And I enjoy meeting the people of Fayette County. We have new people moving into the county, you know, all the time, and it's nice to know why they want to come to our wonderful county. You know, and I just enjoy being where I am. I've worked in that old building for 31 years. It's just a part of me.
Very good. Very good. Any other questions for Ms. Judy? Anyone? Yes.
What would be the main difference between what you've been doing all this time and the Register of Deeds position?
As the deeds come in, the register makes sure they are appropriate for recording, and I would take over that position and represent the office. I would take over that position of seeing the deed when it first comes in, and we are a fee office. The fees that we collect pay our salaries, and I would be accountable for those fees. It would be my name on the door and me being accountable. And we are, y'all forgive me, I'm nervous. We are just accountable for the money. All the fees that come in and writing of checks, where he does that at this point, then I would move into that position.
All right. Any question here?
Do any of your opponents have any experience in the deeds office?
No, sir. Not that I know of. In the 31 years that I've been there, I've seen them frequent the office very few times.
All right. Any other questions?
I'd like to ask one, if I can.
What would you do different if elected than what's being done right now? Anything?
Well, it runs pretty smooth. I would take on suggestions if anything needed to be changed, but I believe if nothing's broke, then don't fix it.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, I just had one question. We finally had our house paid for, and we had a mortgage company supposedly send us the deed. We found out that it was sent to Oakland, Tennessee. It's in East Tennessee. Do you ever run into that very often in this county?
Well, there are Fayette counties in several states in the United States, but I did not realize there was another Oakland in Tennessee.
There is. It comes up on Google Maps all the time.
You're kidding. No, we haven't run into that one.
All right. Any other questions? All right, Ms. Judy, well, thank you for coming. If you have a final statement you'd like to make in soliciting the vote, then please do so.
I do covet your votes. I'd appreciate it, and I'd appreciate your prayers and your support. And remember, I have 31 years and no training required.